Often when you're writing a more complicated NXTG program, like something you would do for First Lego League, for example, you'll need to get values from the real world. Those might be, the number of wheel rotations it takes to get from point A to point B, or the value that the light sensor sees at a particular spot. Well, there's a couple of different ways of doing that, and so let's take a look at them. The most obvious would be the view utility that's built into the NXT brick. Here we are at the main menu. If we cursor left or right for a while, we'll see the view utility. So we'll press enter. Now this lets you look at all the different ports that come into the NXT and tell it what kind of a sensor is on a particular port and get the values for that sensor. Here it is on the microphone. So we'll cursor left or right, and we'll get over to motor rotations, because that's one of the most common things that you'll do with the view utility. You'll want to know how long it takes to get from one place to another in terms of wheel rotations or wheel rotations in degrees. This one that we have selected right now is the number of wheel rotations. It has an R by it. That's usually not accurate enough for a lot of First Lego League applications, because you want to know the number of wheel rotations in fractions to get from one point to another. What this is going to do is give you an integer value. It'll just go 1, 2, 3 for full rotations of a wheel. So normally you'll want to pick the one that has a D for it, by it. That's 4 degrees. This other rotation sensor icon is for legacy Lego rotation sensors. If you have some of the older ones that were made for the previous Mindstorms generation, they're still handy to measure number of rotations at kind of odd places on your robot, like for an arm or something. Then you'd use this one. For most applications, though, you'll go over here to the one that has a D on it. We'll press enter. He'll then ask you what port you want to look at. We'll just pick port A for right now. And then it'll come up with a display. And as we turn the wheel on the robot, we'll see this display change. So that's a pretty handy thing. You can push your robot around on the mat and see how many wheel rotations, or in this case, how many rotations in terms of degrees it takes to get from one place to another. We'll press the back key here. One of the other things that you would think the view utility would be good at would be measuring the light levels at different spots on the mat. The problem is that the light portions of this utility return the absolute light value, with 0 being complete darkness and 100 being blinding light. It's not calibrated. The numbers that you get back aren't modified based on how your light sensor has been calibrated. So if you have calibrated your light sensor, you'll need to do something else. And we'll talk about what those something else's are. If you haven't calibrated it, then by all means feel free to use this part of the view utility. So another option is to use the light viewer program that comes with this tutorial. You'll find a link to this right next to this lesson on the menu of the NXT tutorial. And when you click on that, it'll launch the NXT editor and bring up the program. And so the program looks like this. You can study it at some point and see how it works. It's pretty straightforward. Once you have it, then you download it into your NXT. And I'd probably just leave it there unless you're running out of space. That way you don't have to constantly load the tutorial and download it and so on. So once it's downloaded, it'll show up just like any other program on your NXT's menus. Be in My Files and press enter. And the program's called Light Viewer, and we'll press enter. When it's running, it just treats every sensor port as if it might have a light sensor on it. If it has some other kind of sensor, you might get some sort of a strange number here. But in this case, we have a light sensor plugged into sensor 3. And as we move the robot around on the mat, the value that you see here will be the calibrated light value that you would use in the rest of your program. And that's pretty much all there is to it.